But yeah, this has been incredibly fascinating. I mean, let me briefly just kind of ask you here about the question of Exsurge Domine before we wrap it up. Can you maybe briefly talk about it and how it's maybe relevant to the discussion of the death penalty, and maybe weigh in on how authoritative is that proposition that is being condemned in Exsurge Domine?
Sure. This most of the discussion with the Vatican II documents, or with the Vatican II religious liberty teaching, most of it goes back to the 19th century popes, because they wrote quite a bit on this area, and again of some documents of quite a high level of authority. But one that goes back a ways further is this papal bull by Leo X in 1520 that condemns 41 of Luther's propositions. And one of those is, quote, that heretics be burned is against the will of the Spirit, end quote. And so Leo condemns this proposition. So this, you can imagine I don't actually have to ask you to imagine it, because you're dealing with it quite a bit, Michael, that there's a lot of criticism of both by non-Catholics, but fellow Catholics as well, that the church may seem here to be saying that believing in the burning of heretics is something like an article of faith. Really not nearly as big of a problem as that, because again, there's 41 propositions, and they were all rejected, but rejected in a blanket way. So they were rejected with several different degrees of censure. The highest is heresy, but there were several different degrees. Some were much less serious than heresy, such as offensive to pious ears, or something that's just imprudent. Here's the actual statement. All of these 41 propositions are rejected, quote, as either heretical, scandalous, false, offensive to pious ears, or seductive of simple minds, and against Catholic truth, end quote. So what he's saying now, the cardinals were helping the Pope at this time. And so one of them, Cajetan, actually wanted the Pope to specify a specific censure for each of the propositions, so people would know this one's heretical, this one's imprudent but not heretical, maybe this one's close to heresy or something. There you could use other censures as well. The Pope, however, did not want to do that, and the reason for it seems to be that he considered Luther's ideas a real threat, and thought it would just take a lot longer, which it no doubt would have, to study each of the 41 propositions and to apply a specific censure to each one. And so instead, he lists the ones that concerns him, the 41 propositions, and then he says all of them are problematic for one of these reasons. Some of them might be heretical, some of them might be essentially things that are confusing or imprudent to say. So that's really as far as we can get with with what he said about heretics being burned, that there was some reason, at least, that he thought this was imprudent, but we can't conclude that he was condemning it as heretical. Some of the scholars on religious liberty, like Harrison and Valloway, have proposed some ideas that for why Leo X might have considered this kind of an imprudent thing to say. Harrison says that people were accustomed to the burning of heretics in the 16th century. Now that seems weird, but you find historically less protest against it than you think you would find. This sounds so strange to us, because we certainly would protest a lot. But Harrison says perhaps Leo's concern was that if Luther's proposition were adopted, people would think heresy was not a serious matter. Another possibility that Valloway mentions is that this bull does not necessarily even concern the church's power, the church's course of power. It may be talking about the state's power when heretics threaten civil society. So it
Mhm.
might really be talking about making a judgment in the other realm. And then finally, there's another scholar earlier from the about 100 years ago named Vermeersch, and he says that this proposition and its rejection by Leo X, that all it stands for is the idea that in certain circumstances it's legitimate to execute heretics. That's kind of
Mhm.
Vermeersch's idea, or Vermeersch's kind of interpretation, or his kind of guess at what this might mean. So this is something not all of the writers on religious liberty mention, but at least Harrison and Valloway do, and so they suggest some of these possible understandings. But we don't have this straight conflict here, because you really, from what we have, you really can't conclude that Leo was understanding this point as an article of the faith.
I was very happy to see you conclude that, because it's helped confirm just my own personal evaluation of the matter. Because I came to the same conclusion about this, since it's a global censor and he doesn't identify the proposition of heresy specifically for this. It's likely that it's a minor censor or something like that. And so, has someone ever come to you and spoken about contradictions in the Catholic Church's magisterium? I'm really excited to tell you that I'm going to be exploring magisterial difficulties and various ways in which people have attempted to harmonize tensions that can be found in the magisterium, in the teachings of the Catholic Church. We're going to explore these tensions in quite a few areas: slavery, the death penalty, religious liberty, and many other topics. I'm going to do this in 2 lectures that you can attend with me live on video, and you can ask me questions at the end. There will be 2 lectures, 50 minutes each with a 15-minute break in between, and 30 minutes for Q&A at the end, where you can ask me any question about the topic that you would like. If you would like to attend, it's going to be on April 26th at 12 p.m. Central, and you can join me live via video. You'll also be able to come back and watch the video at a later time, because it will be posted as a course. So if you miss it live, you can still see the video later on. I hope you get a chance to check it out: Magisterial Difficulties, exploring the tensions and the documents of the church. And right now there's an early bird discount going on, so be sure to check it out. I got a link to it in the show description, or visit rtcourses.com for more information. I hope to see you there. Hey, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the content. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the like button, and if you want to support the channel, visit patreon.com/Reason and Theology.